So after a press screening, if there isn't a social media embargo, which is something they do these days, sometimes they won't even let you tweet about the movie, but if they will let me, I like to tweet out my initial reaction in emoji. And some of you speak emoji, like one or two of you cracked this review, but allow me to explain. All right, so the first means this movie's funny, sometimes intentionally, but also sometimes not. Then next, the movie makes some interesting, strong choices that I didn't expect and gave me something to think about. It gave me pause. That's why I used that emoji there. Then also, overall, pretty good, so hence the thumbs up. Then it tried very hard to rock on, and be cool, and in some ways it succeeded. The Blue Ranger was my favorite, and I also ended up liking Rita Repulsa as well. It was super cheesy, super teenagery, and then we'll leave the donut for the spoiler review. Look, this is totally in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles territory, and before any of you get offended, Power Rangers would be lucky to have their opening weekend. Right now, they're pegged to come in about 30 million below, so hopefully some Power Rangers, a pocket of Power Rangers fans is off of Hollywood's radar right now, and they're going to surprise everyone and give it maybe a bigger opening weekend than is anticipated. And what I mean by Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles territory is that unlike some recent comic book movies, which, I think to the layman, non-comic book reader, that would be considered, for kids, which is insulting. But anyway, this doesn't try to elevate the material to something that is for everyone, right? To take it to the next level. This is very much a movie for Power Rangers fans, and I would also say tweens and under. Now, I had the fortune, if it was a different movie, it would be misfortune, but this was cute because, I'm not a big Power Rangers fan. I never kind of got the Power Rangers. They were on my radar, but I was like, that doesn't appeal to me. But there were these teenagers in front of me from some kind of school they invited to the press screening, I guess so that we would hear their reaction, and it worked. It had a big effect on my movie-going experience. But I had 3 teenage boys sitting in front of me, and they just would not stop talking. But they were having a fun time watching the movie. I don't think they loved it. They were hardcore Power Rangers fans. I don't think they loved it, but I think that part of the fun was talking to each other and being like, oh, that's from the show, and like, oh, that's so silly. They really had a good nostalgia trip. And I don't know if they would go to a sequel if the movie didn't have such a good tease for the sequel. They did a good job with that, and I can see it pulling fans back in, even though I think this movie is, I think that people, Power Rangers fans and teens and tweens will say, hey, that was good, but it's not something where you're like, oh, it's amazing. It's, Power Rangers is going to be like a new thing that everybody loves, like that kind of a situation. Now, if you're not a fan, and if you're not a tween and under, and if someone asks you to go with them, they're like, please see the new Power Rangers movie with me. I want you to come with me. Go with them. You can totally watch this movie. It's very watchable, and even at some points, in addition to being entertaining, it surprises you with its wit and also its edge. The edge. So edgy. This movie goes as edgy as possible for PG-13. They go right up to the edge with swearing, speaking of the edge. And they'll even start the swear, and then the character will censor themselves. Because, they're a teenager. They're not supposed to swear. The quintet is definitely too cool for school. And that's a clever choice, actually, because it balances out the cheesiness of the source material, right? So you kind of end up with a happy medium, right? And sometimes they do go full cheese to give the fans what they know they want. We'll talk about that in the spoiler review. And also, but beyond even the original show, because they're trying to be so edgy, they are doing a total Breakfast Club homage. I'm not going to say rip-off, because I felt that this was too good to be called a ripoff. But, when it comes to the Breakfast Club, they just totally took the Breakfast Club and did it. But I did have some problems with the way the teens were portrayed. Now, the good thing was the autism. That was the best thing that they brought. I also appreciated the diversity, which wasn't forced. Although they did comment on it. They had one joke about it, which was very funny. But with the autism, they handled that really well. And the character was really respectful, funny. R.J. Seiler played that character. And thanks to his performance, it didn't seem so much like a gimmick, although occasionally he did have some Major Sheldon from the Big Bang Theory vibes going on. But he gave him so much heart and dimension that he felt like a real person. As for the LGBT situation, the fact that was a headline the other day is stupid, because she doesn't, remember they said, girlfriend problems, and that was supposed to be how she, everybody found out she was a lesbian, the Yellow Ranger. She doesn't answer when someone asks her if it's girlfriend problems. So I think that unless you saw the headline, you would not know if that character was LGBT or not. It's just totally not, it's a non-issue, and they should be embarrassed to be queer baiting like that. That's really insulting. Hollywood's got to stop doing this. I mean, there is no gay character in the movie. But as for the teenagers themselves, it's good to show that you can turn your life around, if you're on a self-destructive path in particular, which many of the characters in this movie are. But in reality, the Power Rangers aren't going to turn your life around for you, right? So I don't know if it's such a good idea to romanticize troubled kids, particularly when I don't think that a lot of these kids, I don't think they totally changed if it weren't for the Power Rangers. I don't think that they learned the error of their ways, I guess you could say, right? And also there was one line where it said, one character tells another, just because, you did a bad thing doesn't make you a bad person. And that's a really complicated discussion. And I think that they try to simplify it too much here. It's like, it's establishing a pattern. If you do enough bad things, or you occasionally do, you won't stop. If you don't stop doing bad things, even if it's every once in a while, you kind of are a bad person. So I don't kind of like giving that, I know that, you want to be encouraging. And again, you should be, I think it's really important to emphasize that you can turn things around. But I think that should be the emphasis, not we are who we are. And if we're difficult and detention's cool. If you're in detention all the time, you really need to look into that because that's going to hurt you going forward. Okay. But while the characters might not be admirable, I guess why I bring it up is that I worry that any impressionable tweens and under might see this movie and be like, what a great group of friends. I'm going to go find those kids at my school. And I think that would be unfortunate. If you're a part of that group already, well then good luck turning your life around. I hope you're inspired to do it by watching this movie. But it's tricky. All right, so anyway, while the characters might not be admirable, the actors playing them are. This is the best acting I've seen in a tween teen movie in quite some time. And I think part of that is not only the talent of the cast, but also better roles. They give very good character arcs and personal problems for each ranger to deal with. So I was impressed with that. RJ Cyler again has the meatiest role. So not only does he do a good job, but I think that he has a little bit of an advantage and that he has more to work with. Doc Ray Montgomery and Ludi Lin are also very good, very likable. Naomi Scott, she's okay. I really didn't like what she did, what got her in detention. I thought it was pretty unlikable. And I thought that the filmmakers must have realized how unlikable it was because they cheated and they had her talk about it instead of actually showing what she did. Because I think if you actually showed it, it would be hard for a majority of moviegoers to kind of get over it. And I never felt she never really made up for what she did. She was like, yeah, I'll try and do better next time. And you're like, but what about the horrible thing that you did? All right, as for Becky G, she really has no role, even beyond not dealing with the whole LGBT situation. But I feel like that was almost intentional because, she's not a professional actress. She is a YouTube singer, although now a legitimate singer. Her singing career seems to be going quite well. And I'm sure she was cast to bring in fans. So I think that they did her a favor perhaps of giving her a role that, was kind of like beginning acting. Then Bryan Cranston and Bill Hader do a nice job with their voiceover work. They don't phone it in for a paycheck. And of course, Bryan Cranston, there are some surprises with him. But he is involved. He's been involved with the show since the beginning. He had a cameo. I think even more than a cameo. But the Blue Power Ranger is named after Bryan Cranston. Every time they say Billy Cranston when you're watching the movie, you're like, yes, Bryan Cranston. So, I think it's nice that he came back. And I thought that the way Zordon was portrayed in the ship was pretty cool. Then for Elizabeth Banks, at first I thought she was doing a horrible job. I was like, this is some huge, you're going to choke on that scenery, Elizabeth Banks. But eventually, her performance really grew on me. So by the end of the movie, I was like, nice work. And I think a large part of that is the writing. Yes, this screenplay is actually really good. It's written by John Gattens, who wrote Flight and Need for Speed. It's crazy that he wrote this, but you can see what a difference it makes when you get a really good writer to handle a property like this. So kudos to everyone involved here for getting a good screenwriter. The movie's very self-aware, which is funny, and I think necessary to some degree, because again, it's so cheesy. Also, the characters acted and said things that real modern people would say and do in these situations. Even when they were Saturday morning cartoon type situations, that was factored into the lines and the actions. And that was great. And there were some very clever jokes and one-liners. One was really my favorite. We'll talk about that in the spoiler review. As for director Dean Israelite, whose cousin directed Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, he both works for and against the film. I think that he does a good job with the angsty and cheesy Breakfast Club aspects of the movie. Like, I think he's perfect at hitting that, tween demographic because of his background, the Project Almanac, etc. That's what he does. Dean Israelite, you now know what he does as a director. But I think the quality of the script and the acting is held back a little bit by him. That the acting and the script are better than Dean Israelite as a director. So Power Rangers is not bad at all, and Saban can be very proud of delivering something so nice for their legion of fans. And we'll see if they show up at the box office. And maybe, just maybe, some careers will be launched out of this as well. And that's always nice. So what did you think of Power Rangers? Both for those of you who are fans and for those of you who are not fans. And if you're not a fan, why did you go? Is it out of curiosity, or did you go to support a fan, right? Support the Power Ranger fan in your life. There's nothing else playing this weekend. I guess you could see Life or something, but if you've already seen the other films, why not? All right, it has really, really good moments. Okay, that's my review of Power Rangers. I look forward to hearing your comments down below, and you can check out some more videos right now.